Fred Fenster was a lawyer there. Kaiser Soze was a lawyer there. Chris calls Kaiser Soze up at the law firm and says, can we use her name? He says, sure, but just let me read the script first. Me and Bryan and Chris were like, okay, well, we got to figure out a new name. About 10 years ago, somebody sells their house 2 doors down from my parents to one guy whose name is Keyser Soze. Now he's my parents' neighbor.
Oh, wild.
I've said hi, yeah. Okay. I don't see him that often, but yeah. I think I gave him a poster.
You may not know Public Access, the 1993 Sundance Film Festival Grand Jury Prize winner, but you almost certainly have heard of Keyser Soze, the enigmatic uber villain at the heart of the 1995 Oscar-winning mystery crime thriller, The Usual Suspects. So, what connects these two films? In this episode of Inside the Art House, we sit down with Ken Kokin, the producer of both of these films, to discuss how the same creative team, director Bryan Singer, screenwriter Christopher McQuarrie, editor-composer John Ottman, and producer Kokin went from making an obscure festival prize winner to creating one of the great mystery crime thrillers of all time. As we mark the 30th anniversary of The Usual Suspects, Kokin shares behind-the-scenes stories, insights into working with McQuarrie and Singer, and if you love independent film history and 1990s cinema, we think you'll find our conversation both fun and illuminating. Join us as we discuss The Usual Suspects on Inside the Art House, starting now.
Hey, I'm Greg Lemley.
And I'm Raphael Sparge.
And welcome to today's episode of Inside the Art House. Today we are joined by an old friend, Ken Kokin.
Yeah, old.
Old.
Like 40 years?
At least.
No.
But we're not here to talk about when we met or any of that. We're here to talk about...
We were shorter and we had hair.
There we go. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, we were a lot shorter. But we're here to talk about something that happened 30 years ago.
Right.
And that's the release of a film that you produced, a landmark film, a film that I love and always try and go back to, The Usual Suspects.
Thank you. It was a tough task producing such a big movie when I was 11.
They let you out of school that day, right?
They let me out of school that day to produce a movie.
Look, it's a classic now. Here we are 30 years later. I mean, it's seminal. It's taught in film schools. It's, for screenwriting. Yeah, for screenwriting, for misdirection and unreliable narrator and all sorts of kind of interesting kind of...
We bumped Rashomon from the...
I'm sure Rashomon's in there as well, but you're up there. Because it's really smart and well told and everything. But I mean, did you have any idea, I guess, from here we are 30 years later, that you'd still be talking about it 30 years forward?
I didn't even know if I'd be alive 30 years forward.
Did it feel...
At what point did you know that you guys had made something that was...
Oh, Sundance.
Okay.
Sundance. We won 2 years prior in 93 and we came back in 95.
What was 93?
Public Access.
Public Access.
Which we'll circle back around to.
So rewind. We finished the movie. We rent out the big theater at Paramount to show it to the executives. We load the theater with as many friends as we can get to come and see this movie. Right. They saw Public Access, so they were like, oh, I don't know if I want to see Bryan and Ken's next movie. I was like, okay, all right, just come and see if you like it. We've shown it to like 6-10 people during the editing process. So here we are presenting our film to the executives. So it was funded by Polygram and Spelling. Spelling took international. Polygram took Benelux and all the English-speaking territories at the time. The Spelling guys, Mitch Horowitz, and was it Dennis Prignolato? They come out of the theater and they're like happy because they already sold all the territories.
Oh.
They were done. They had their money and they were just happy that we delivered the film that was budget, in color.
Yeah, right.
In focus. Right,
in focus and in color. They were like, please. And then Russell Schwartz, and I don't remember exactly. It was a long time ago. But I do remember having my heart drop when one of the Polygram guys says, what do you guys want to do with it? And Bryan looks at me, I look at him, and I'm like,
release it?
And that's what Bryan said. In theaters.
Yeah.
Bryan said, release it in theaters. They had no clue. Nobody had a clue. So we were like,
Well, why wouldn't they have a clue? I mean, what? I mean,
they're studio executives. I mean, I've been a studio executive, so like I know. You're like trying to second guess an audience. You're not watching a movie for yourself. You're watching a movie for what you think people think.
I see. Okay.
I've shown my film to studio executives before, and I always have the feeling like they're not watching it for them. They're watching it for
what's in it for me, right? Yeah.
Yeah, kind of for the audience.
I gotcha. So he said, Bryan Singer said, we want to release it in theaters, and
he said, "What do you want to do with it?" Bryan said, "Release it in theaters."
Crickets.
We didn't know. We didn't know what was going to happen, and we're loving the spelling guys, but like the English distribution,
right, the one you really
theaters.
care about. Yeah.
I mean, they did 4 weddings and a funeral, I guess, before us. That was a big hit. And so here's the usual suspects, and they didn't quite understand. I don't think they understood what they actually bought. And we kind of panicked. And then we showed it to...
What, this is in late 94?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we showed it to Jeff Gilmore. Was
Yeah,
that
sure,
the guy's
Jeff,
name?
yeah.
He was the head of Sundance, and we had a relationship with him because we won.
Sure.
And they're like, "Do you want to be in competition?" And we're like, "No, we did that already. Why don't we do a big premiere or something there?" And he's like, "Okay." And we had to screen it for him. So we rented like a little screening room on the Warner lot, showed it to him, and he's like, "Okay, you guys could come in." And then he gave us notes for the ending. And he cut some of my second unit stuff.
Oh,
and
wow.
he's like, tighten it up here, tighten it up here. He was right about all of his notes, and it was still a rough cut because... We're like, sure. And so we did it. We got in. And I'm like, okay, let's see how this goes. At the end of our first screening, I'm getting chills even thinking about it. At the end of the first screening, and at Sundance, it was in one of the hotels where they convert the ballroom into a theater.
Yeah, not exactly,
The Yarrow.
yeah.
And the light, the chandelier shadow was on the screen. It was so annoying.
Oh, wow.
But we got out of the theater, and it was like instant celebrity. And then Chris is like, they're like, the writing's amazing. This film is amazing. And Benicio's there, and the cast is there. Benicio goes to Chris and says, "All glory is fleeting."
That's what he says?
Yeah.
Oh, my
Benicio's
God.
Brilliant. Do you know what movie it's from?
No.
Patton.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Yes, right. Because, the guy that stands behind the general, the conquering general, and telling him, yeah, exactly. Okay, yes.
Benicio is probably second to you in terms of people I know.
Quoting movies?
No, in terms of movie knowledge.
Oh, wow.
Well,
Yeah, Benicio he was on first names with Ronnie Dawson during the Laser Blazer days. Like, he would just go in there and spend hours with Ronnie at the store. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
So at Sundance, you kind of knew something was going on, and then obviously at some point the polygram guys come around.
Yeah, once the reviews came out, they were like, because that was the first time we showed it to the public. That's when we got the reviews.
Right. And then from there, it's
And the
then
buzz,
then
and
it's
then
getting
the
the
second screening was
getting the
just-
marketing going and
Yeah.
and then an August release date.
And then we got invited to Cannes.
Well, look, I mean, again, it's not impossible to consider that was their reaction. Pulp Fiction had not yet come out.
Right.
I mean, it had been in Sundance, but it didn't open until later in '94. So your screening might have been right before that. Reservoir Dogs, for all the buzz about the film, was not a commercial success at the box office. And, there was not yet this conception of Tarantino-esque.
Well, Reservoir Dogs came out.
Came out, but it didn't do a lot of business at the box
Yeah.
office.
And then at Cannes,
Yeah, but-
that's when I realized that this thing was
So from Sundance,
amazing.
you went
Yeah.
to Cannes. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
That confirmed the success at Sundance was at Cannes, and we weren't in competition.
You won a competition. Okay.
Yeah.
By the way, your foreign guys were probably not so happy now at this point because they sold the film for what they sold it for, and maybe they could have gotten more if they'd waited. But that's another.
Maybe. I think they were very happy because of the film.
But the roots of the film, you mentioned Public Access, which won the Grand Jury Prize at
Yeah.
Sundance in '93. It's the same creative team.
Yeah. Ottman.
Who are
John Ottman, the editor.
as editor and composer.
Oscar-winning editor and composer who did Bohemian Rhapsody, won the Oscar for that. Chris McQuarrie, who won the Oscar for The Usual Suspects.
Yeah.
Me and Bryan.
You and Bryan.
And my second unit DP, because I shot all the second unit, was Bruce Johnson, who shot Public Access. Mm-hmm. And he was a friend from film school. So Bruce Douglas Johnson. Let's put his name in right so if you IMDb it.
And all of you go back to USC?
No.
Not all. Okay.
Chris didn't go to college. Chris was going to fail English and begged his English teacher to pass him so he could go to travel around Australia. Chris and Bryan went to high school together. They knew each other from high school.
Oh, wow.
Bryan and I knew each other from USC. John Ottman we knew from USC. And the whole reason Bryan knew John Ottman is because I got Bryan a senior thesis. He was critical studies, so I knew all the production guys. So I was like, hey, do you want to PA this movie with me? And he's like, yeah, sure. So it was like this little, I remember the title, Summer Rain. So Bryan became the super PA on this thesis film, and that's where he met John Ottman, who then made this little short film. And Bryan asked me to shoot the short film with Ethan Hawke called Lion's Den. Bryan came to me because he knew I wanted to be a DP at the time. And he said, hey, Ethan Hawke is coming to town to shoot Dad, and he told me that we should make a movie. So I've started raising money from all my friends' parents to fund my movie. I'm like, dude, I'm sorry, I'm traveling this summer. Can't do it. And then there's the Summer Rain thing. I got him on Summer Rain, not quite sure of the order of things. But, we were friends in college. But I don't think we ever, really bonded. We just kind of knew each other. So I didn't shoot Lions Den. And then there was one day in LA where Bryan was riding the bus because his car was in the shop. And I was walking because my car was in the shop. And we were on Westwood and Pico.
Okay.
And he jumps off the bus. Ken, how are you? And he gives me his business card. He had a little Bryan Singer business card with his phone number. And he jumps back on the bus and says, call me. I call him. And then he's trying to tell me where he lives. And I'm still living at home at the time. And he's like, do you know where it is? I'm like, yeah, I know exactly where it is. You live right around the corner. It's like less than a mile from where I am right now. I'm going to come over. This is before cell phones or anything like that. So I go over. He's living with this guy who's a movie poster collector. I'm like, what's going on? He's like, well, what do you want to do now? And I'm like, well, I shot a feature and I ended up editing a feature and I had editing experience and I just want to be a producer now. He's like, you don't want to be a DP anymore? I'm like, no, I want to be a producer. He's like, can you produce a movie for $250,000? I'm like, sure. And then he goes through how he made Lions Den and how this Japanese company was going to fund public access. And they gave me the script. And I was like, this script takes you straight to the video stores. This is not going to do anything. And I said, what we need to do for today's independent market is kill the girl and have the bad guy get away. They're like, what? I'm like, kill the girl and have the bad guy get away. He's like, why? I'm like, because every movie has a shootout at the end and you're going to end up in Blockbuster at best. And he thought about it. I'm like, we need to do this. I'm telling you, I've never been to a film festival before, but I love films that do things differently. And these are the two things we need to do. And we did that. And then we got accepted to Sundance just kind of randomly because there was another guy who worked with us on that movie named Adam Ripp, who I went to high school with. So I had a high school friend on public access. We went to school with Seymour Cassell's daughter, Dylin. And Dylan's father was very involved in Sundance, Seymour. And he's like, this is my friend's dad's, he's very involved. We got to submit. So we submitted it. And Kathy Schulman's husband, boyfriend at the time, watched our movie. And he's like, you guys got to watch this film. And she's like, okay. So they watched the film. Jeffrey watched the film and we got in. I think it was all because of the bad guy getting away and killing the girl. We then carried that same idea to The Usual Suspects. Right. Edie dies.
Yes, she does. The only female character in the film.
Wait, spoiler alert. Spoiler alert here.
Yeah. Put it this way. You've had 30 years to see it. If we ruined the ending for you, it's not your fault. At this point, shut off the podcast, go watch the movie, and then come back, and then you can finish watching this, because we're going to ruin the film for you.
But so, okay, obviously you have this critical success, because public access did still end up going straight to video stores, basically, essentially. I think we played it. Maybe the only theater in the country that played the film.
What?
Public access.
Oh, you didn't play the film?
Yeah, we did. We did an engagement. Yes.
Oh, you did a weekend.
Yeah, we did. Okay, well,
we didn't even qualify for
that's
the
right.
Oscars.
That's right.
It was
maybe
you needed 5 days. Greg gave us 4.
Midnight shows or something. Well, at least it saw the inside of a movie theater.
That's right.
But so, how soon after that did and where did Usual Suspects start? How far after public access? And the prize at Sundance, did things start coming together? Okay,
so Chris was sitting in line or standing in line at a film festival, and at the film festivals, there's all the posters in the wall. on the walls when you're going in for all the independent films. And Chris goes, I have this idea for a film, a lineup, and then underneath it says, all of you can go to hell. That was his inspiration for the film. He tells Bryan, hey, I got this idea for a movie. Meanwhile, it's just the poster.
That's okay. Roger Corman always started with the poster.
Exactly.
Yes, I guess he did, or a title, right?
So-
yeah.
And let's run that short little clip just so from Casablanca.
Major Strasser has been shot. Round up the usual suspects.
Oh, but the funny thing I have to tell you about it, that's not where he got the title.
Okay.
I heard it's a Stephen King thing, right? Is that right?
No.
No?
You
Okay.
didn't get it from Stephen King either.
Where?
All right.
Spy Magazine. Remember that old magazine?
Yeah.
They had a column called The Usual Suspects.
Oh,
and
they
Chris
did?
thought that would be an interesting title for a film.
Oh, wow.
He had no idea that it was in Casablanca.
He didn't really put it together, no. It wasn't what inspired him.
Wow.
Yeah. Spy Magazine.
So
had
was it just he just saw a lineup?
He saw the lineup in the poster.
He knew the
In Spy
column,
Magazine,
He knew
he
the
read?
column of this column that he liked the title.
Yeah.
And from that he wrote a screenplay.
No, so Bryan ended up going to Japan with our financiers for public access, and they're like, well, we want to finance your next movie. How about $2.5 million? And he's like, hey, calls up Chris, remember that idea? Remember that idea with the poster and the lineup and the all of you can go to hell? He's like, yeah, I need it now. So Chris wrote it like the first draft in 2.5 weeks.
Whoa.
All right, so it's the first draft, but at that point, when did you read
So
it?
at that point, Bryan gave it to the Japanese company, and they were like, no, we don't really get it. And not that they got public access, but they just should have trusted us. So then we worked on the script for a long time afterwards. I mean, there was a whole scene. If you watch the film, you hear a reference to Captain Leo. There was a whole Captain Leo, and they're talking to Captain Leo about what's going on in the room, and it just was another whole thing. We had to yank it out. There was a scene where a kid finds the body, or a jet skier finds the body, the shot of the floating Arturo Marquez, the witness that they're trading for money. Yeah, so we cut that to one shot of the floating corpse. It was just, there was a lot of things like that where we were just starting to pull things out. We couldn't figure out how to get them from New York to LA. I think it was Randall's idea to say, oh, why don't you just have the fence be in LA for Redfoot, played by Peter Green.
Right. You
Yeah.
couldn't have worked on the script for that long, though, because you're talking about premiering at 2 years between public access and Usual Suspects.
Yeah, but
And you've got to have shooting time and edit, and everything like that.
But we still cranked through the script. Bryan and I and Chris, and Bryan would be doing his workout. Chris and I would be arguing, and we'd have note cards and trying to pull stuff out and fighting and yelling, and Chris and Bryan going, and I'm the referee. And I mean, it was the way how they worked together was just like two friends from high school, if you could imagine. It was
Gloves are off, right?
Yeah, and then but once the money came, and you're like, okay, how do we cut characters, cut location, cut pages? So yeah, that's where we all kind of just, Chris and I really put our heads together, and Chris and I even were doing the production rewrites throughout the movie.
Right.
And, Bryan had other things to do, so Chris and I were like in the office figuring out how to make changes, how to tighten things up to get the film ready to go. And
So I guess the question then next is casting. I mean, obviously the cast is so kind of I don't know, classic. Every one of them in their own way.
Yeah.
What was the thinking? What were you what was the aim? I guess with the casting.
Well, Kevin was attached to the movie.
Right. Apparently, he was really after.
In fact,
after Bryan.
Chris was at a dinner once with Kevin, and I think it was Randall Slavin again, who actually was friends with Kevin and introduced him to Bryan. And Kevin talked about what he wanted to do in a role, and Chris actually
a role in any
in
kind
just
of
general speaking in terms of roles. And there was a guy at Damiano's Pizza on Fairfax who had a little palsy thing that Chris noticed. So he kind of took the palsy thing and he took the Kevin Spacey's thing, and that kind of inspired him to write the movie around the Kaiser Soze kind of verbal character. So Kevin was already attached. So once you have a guy who just won a Tony and who just did Glenn Ross and all the actors are like, wow, this guy's a great actor. It starts getting a little bit easier to put your cast together. We had him attached, but he didn't mean any money at the time. He did The Ref, he did Swimming with Sharks with Benicio, but these movies didn't come out and didn't really do that much, you know? But it was a little bit, but the actors knew him. So then Francine Maisler, the greatest casting director, she just came, we were able to hire her. And I mean, you say, how did it come together? This movie didn't come together. This movie was a complete accident. The script was passed on by almost 40 people, production companies and financiers.
Wow.
Dead. Nobody wanted to make this movie. Somebody came to us and said, you know, get out Pacino and get rid of Kevin Spacey and put in Dustin Hoffman and we'll make the movie. That was like the offers we would get.
And I understand that Pacino said that was because he was offered, I'm not sure what he was, I'm not sure if he was offered Kevin's part, but he said that it was one of the parts that he regretted turning down.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think it was going to be Chaz's part.
But Chaz's part, that's what I think. Yeah.
At the time, his career was just booming. Pete Postlethwaite came in for his Oscar nomination. He was actually up against Chaz. But I think Pete came in for his nomination and some kind of press stuff. And so we met him and we're like, okay, yeah, you could be Kobayashi even though you're not Japanese. We don't care. You're brilliant. And it really didn't matter. At Sundance, I met these two guys who told me they had money. The typical Hollywood story.
Right.
They had this German money and they're going to fund the movie outright and blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. Let's sign all the contracts, get all the deals in place. And then Francine wasn't getting paid. We didn't know what was happening from the German money, and everything's falling apart. You know, I'm hiring crew, hired a line producer, and everything's falling apart. But we were able to kind of fake it. We were in an office near Rose and Main Street in Santa Monica, so it looked like we had money. We were in Schwarzenegger's building. He owned the building at the time, and Johnny Carson's office was there
Shotzi's
too.
next door.
Yeah, Shotzi's. We ate there every day. I loved Shotzi's. So it looked like we had money, and we were able to put together a cast. We were a go movie. And then something happened where Paul Thomas Anderson was making a movie called Sydney, which became Hard Eight.
Yep.
They get shut down, and they were sharing offices with us. We're like, what the hell is going on? So this guy who was one of the guys I met at Sundance who said he had the money, Robert Jones. I don't know if you ever met him. He's in the picture on the lineup in shorts and a T-shirt. He was amazing, just an amazing superhero at the time. He comes in and we get letters from the cast. We got Pete's letter and we get it was like an option agreement for 2 weeks. If you get the money, we'll be in the movie. So it was Gabriel, Kevin, Chaz,
Kevin Pollak, right?
Kevin Pollak and Kevin. Yeah.
Kevin.
Kevin
Kevin Pollak.
Right.
The one that was still open was McManus. We didn't have
cast that yet?
We didn't have Steven's role cast yet, but we had the rest of them. I think we had Benicio too. You know, it was so weird, like casting and like this guy. Fenster was supposed to be an old guy. Chris didn't want it to be Beavis and Butthead. He's like, no, we need an older guy who gets killed, and we get the younger, and we'll have a lot of sympathy for the guy. I mean, there's just so many stories. I mean, I remember, just a little sidetrack, Benicio comes to me and he says, Ken, I got this idea. I'm going to do this thing where you can't understand what I'm saying. And I was like, well, that's an interesting choice. And then I'm thinking, yeah, I think you should talk to Bryan about that. And Bryan, in all of his genius, he's like, yeah, Finster doesn't say anything important. Yeah, do it. And then the actors are like, Bryan, we don't understand what the fuck he's saying. Well, then ask him what he says. Because if you don't understand it, the audience doesn't have it. So that's why Kevin has that line, what the fuck did he say? You know, it's like all the...
That's great. And was it really that thing where he was just too small a part and he wanted to make it more interesting? Was that sort of...
No. I learned so much about acting from Benicio. Because with Benicio... Like I said before we started this, Benicio has one of the largest collections of movies out of anybody I know. So he looks at it, and this is what he conveyed to me, but he looks at it as a painter. So he's taking little pieces of different things and putting it together. And if we look back, we could look at The Killers. There was the guy with the jaw, and some other movies, and you can kind of see where he creates his character. And he had this guy named Alan who he worked with, who was kind of like an assistant, but he was more of like a guy who Benicio bounced ideas off of. So that's where that genius came. And he won a Spirit Award for that.
Oh, for the performance.
Yeah, for the performance of Fenster.
That's great.
But we got off track. So where'd the money come from?
That's right. So Robert Jones.
Okay.
We lose all the money. Sydney's shut down. We have these letters from the actors, and he goes to Cannes and he starts shopping it around with the script and with the cast.
That's a heck of a package to hand to someone. Here they are. Yeah.
But no, it's not. It wasn't enough. It was barely enough.
And so what would
Gabriel Byrne, incredible actor, but Miller's Crossing didn't do like $100 million.
No.
Right.
You know,
not a star.
They're all just really good actors.
Kevin Pollak did, A Few Good Men before there, but he's not Tom Cruise or Debbie Moore. Kevin Spacey, the ref. No, he's not. So there was no. Pete Postlethwaite, side character. Chaz, a little bit, but not enough to like greenlight the whole movie. So yeah, it didn't mean anything really. I mean, it was just
not in the market at Cannes.
Yeah, not at that time.
So who stepped up then?
Mitch Horowitz and Polygram and Spelling. Mitch Horowitz was Spelling, and Russell Schwartz and the other
Polygram,
guys were Polygram. So they stepped up and they just took a chance. We're like $5.5 million, guys. Come on. And we were kind of in the wake of Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction and these kind of movies at the time. Pulp Fiction
wasn't Cannes in 94.
Well.
You're right. Yes. So
that's true. That was kind of like, here's like the cheap version of Pulp Fiction, just do it, guys. And there was some stuff in the script at the time. It was still tighter. It was tight enough to get their attention where they're like, it's a good script. But we got back coverage saying like, this movie makes no sense. You got to remember, there's no voice montage at the end of the script. Where you play back the movie. There's no montage at the end of the movie, so it doesn't really come off. And Ottman put that together in post.
Oh, that's interesting. I see. Yeah. So it really kind of like the click.
But Bryan came up with the idea. He's like sleeping there, panicking that his movie's not working, and he's sleeping under the Steenbeck that we put into, or the chem that we put into the thing that kills you. The thing, at the end of. He's sleeping underneath the machine at John Ottman's house in Sundance because he didn't want to keep driving back and forth. So he comes up, he's like, voice montage. We got to take all the voices and put it all together. And then John's like, okay, great, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, and so the whole thing about it being on the
It's not on the page there, though. The bulletin board was,
the bulletin board was in the script.
Yeah, but it doesn't have that power.
No, of course not. Yeah, it's hard to...
So an executive, and being an executive, you don't necessarily do the extra work to visualize what's on the page.
No, right.
So it didn't have what you're talking about in terms of, it's amazing. Everybody's going to want to make this movie. Nobody wanted to make this movie. We would send it to one company and get great coverage and crap coverage.
Yeah.
And people loving and hating the same things.
Yeah. Sure. We had to fight to get Steven in the movie. He did Threesome, and they wanted who's the guys from James Spader to play McManus. They were, get us James Spader, you guys can go. And so I remember we're location scouting. We're in San Pedro. I'm figuring out how Kevin Spacey is going to walk out of the. I'm giving away the ending. Walking out of the police station, and Bryan's on the phone with Spelling, trying to convince them that Stephen Baldwin is a credible actor. He's going to mean something. He's going to be great in the film. And I'm like, okay, he comes out this way. We need a food truck here or something. So there's a line that he walks through. That's why there's the food truck. And then he's going to walk down here, and this is where Kobayashi's going to pick him up. And I go back out there. I'm like, I got it. And he's like, how is it? I'm like, it's good. I got it's all blocked. And he's like, I'm like, did you get us, Steven? He's like, yeah. So we're like in the van, the location scout van, and he locks down the approval for Steven. And Steven was like, Gabriel, Kevin, Pete, I'm doing this film. Like, he was so gung-ho. I mean, and then, we get another wardrobe change. Steven loved the film so much, he made us hats. I haven't put this one on in 30 years. This is the Stephen Baldwin hat. And he gave me a jacket too with the usual suspects.
Okay, the walking.
So, but yeah, I mean, Stephen was a dream. And I did all the second unit on the boat with Stephen, shooting and the dog and the whole thing, and Gabriel. And I'm very proud to say this, but the shot of Red Gabriel burn when he's inside the ship,
Yeah.
that's Brian's favorite shot in the movie.
It is nice.
I did that.
Second unit.
Second unit.
There you go. That's great. That's great.
So there's a lot of conversation about this film.
Yeah.
It's oft discussed, oft dissected. Is there any of it you want to correct or you want to put your spin on it?
In terms of,
Or are there things that you see that are, when the legend becomes the fact, print the legend, right? Okay, so is there anything out there that you feel has like become accepted as truth about the film that in fact is not, or not quite exactly how it went down?
so I watched the film last night to brush up on things. There's a lot of things in the film that just don't make sense. But that's not the question that you're
I'm not asking you to improve the film.
I mean, can I reach it?
I think it's
which is funny. This is off topic again. We showed this movie to a major studio, and they liked it, and they wanted us to remake it with stars. Right. That's where we were with the cast.
You
of
had
this movie.
actors, right?
We had actors.
Right.
We had Francine Mazer with this incredible vision, saying no. She's like, Benicio is so good. What was the movie he did? Alan Davia shot it with Rosie Perez's. He played Rosie Perez's husband, Fearless.
Okay.
Jeff Bridges. He just came off of that. I just want for my baby what they had for his. Blah blah blah. And we're like, yeah, let's cast Benicio. Chris is like, no way are we casting Benicio. He won't read, blah, blah, blah. And Brian's just like, no, I think Benicio's the right choice. I mean, I can confirm that the lineup was Benicio's fart, and that's why they're laughing in that scene.
Right, that's a famous thing.
And
right,
there was...
and Kevin, I guess they're all
and
just...
Stephen Baldwin didn't get hit with the cigarette was supposed to hit him here, but...
And Peter Greenfield.
It hit him almost in the eye. So, yeah, that's why there's that great reaction and stuff, and that made it into the film. The happy accidents. The lineup was important, though, because there was nothing in the script to show the relationship between Fenster and McManus.
No, it was just assumed from the very beginning they're partners, even though they're not picked up together.
Yeah,
or
but
anything
it's
like that.
because of the fart. It was because of the hitting back and forth and the relationship in the lineup, like that little bit of, like...
Because it was supposed to be serious, but they were all
Yeah.
just sort of messing around and just laughing. being
And
actors.
Brian's like, stop laughing. And they're like,
Right.
yeah. And you got Kevin Pollak, you have Kevin Spacey, and they're both doing imitations of Johnny Carson.
Right,
And the whole
right,
thing was
right.
just, when you're surrounded by that much talent, it's just like, it's crazy.
Get out of the way, right?
Yeah. And it's different kinds of talent because Pete Postlethwaite is a, British trained actor, and Stephen Baldwin is just crazy. So but Stephen, I watched his performance again in the film. He's so good in this movie. He's so good. And you could tell he loved it. I mean, so much of the glasses was his idea. He brought so much, not just the hat. I mean, he brought so much to that role.
Just the hat.
Working with him and Gabriel in the ship was just like a dream come true in terms of my stuff. He came up with some really cool ideas. That shot that's lit in by just the light bulb of him closing his eyes and thinking, that was his idea. And I just went to my DP. I'm like, does that bulb give us enough light to shoot this? I'm like, yeah, okay, turn the camera this way. Steven, do it over here. He's bringing me more ideas as I was directing. And I was just...
Oh, that's fun. That's
it was,
really fun.
I mean, and it was just, he's like, and I tried to direct him. He's like, I got it. In the Alec Baldwin voice. I got it. Like, okay.
Yeah. Was there? So I know Kevin. I'd worked with him before this.
Which one?
In New York.
Spacey.
Sorry,
Okay.
Spacey. And right, yeah. And I wonder. And he's an incredible actor. And as you were watching the dailies, I guess he's coming in at a whole other frequency. I mean, what he's doing. I mean, those scenes are. He's literally, it's like I'm seeing him steal the movie, basically.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering, as if you're watching this, if you were seeing that kind of happen. Because
I can explain that with one little story.
Yeah.
So there were a couple things that happened. When we were shooting that, we shot that first. We were supposed to shoot that last, but Chaz...
The interrogation scene?
Yeah, and one of the things that got us to make the movie was that Chaz only had a very small window.
Oh.
So if we didn't shoot Chaz's 2 weeks when he was available, there was no movie. So we had to move that to the beginning of the schedule. So we're in the Herald Examiner building in LA. We converted it into a police station. And Kevin and Chaz are doing that thing. And there were 3 things I remember. One, the line producer coming to me saying, "What do you mean you want red vines?" I'm like, "It's a movie. Every movie has red vines."
I guess they do, yes.
The OJ chase and everybody watching the OJ chase
Yes.
during the shoot. And Bryan coming to me and saying, "He's going to win an Oscar."
Yeah. There's
He
some.
called it.
Yeah, there's he just comes in. I don't know. It's just like like beaming in from another place. It's like, wow, this guy's on fire, and there's so much going on underneath everything that you're seeing, and there's literally 5 levels at once. It really is. It's really exciting to watch him. Yeah, that's why I just wondered if as you were watching it, if you saw that. I mean, I've been on movies where people have said like, oh, he's stealing the movie, so I wondered if you saw it happening as it was.
There's one other thing I remember from that day. After the cup breaks, I saw them taking it away in the trash, and I was like, oh, we're going to throw that away? I just could have gone.
Get the broken
Don't
cup.
throw the cup. Don't need that.
What did Rosebud just sell for?
$12 million. I mean, I do have some props from the movie. This is the when Edie is being when you see Edie,
Oh, that's fun.
Nice. I never even noticed.
This is from the office
That's
building.
nice.
I saved that.
Nice. That's great.
There's a couple things. I have the police station sign. Chris McQuarrie has the bulletin board, the quartet, the actual film. And we had to make the quartet sign larger, the sticker. Mm-hmm. You guys know how Chris came up with the movie in the break room at the law office, right? So Chris was...
Even if we do.
Chris
let's
was
go.
working
No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
So, we made public access for $250,000. Chris, I think, maybe made $2,500 or $3,000 for the script. He got a job at a downtown law office. And there were lawyers there because it's a law office. And they had names. Fred Fenster was a lawyer there. Kaiser Soze was a lawyer there. And then he would take his break in this room with a quartet bulletin board. And he's like, what if the whole story came from this bulletin board? And that's where he kind of said, and then that's where he came up with the Kevin Spacey narrator thing. So he pulled everything from the law office. So that's why you don't know Fred Fenster's first name, and we just call him Fenster because Fred Fenster is a real person.
And
And
And an attorney?
McManus
Right, yeah,
is a real person.
Oh, wow.
So it came time when you make a movie, you got to clear the names.
Right.
So everything came back perfect. We're good. Everything, we got our approval to our clearances, except for one, Keyser Soze. So Chris calls Keyser Soze up at the law firm and says, can we use her name? He says, sure, but just let me read the script first. And me and Bryan and Chris are like, what are we going to do? Okay, let's go. He goes into his family, his wife's being raped, and then he shoots his kid. And then, okay, well, we got to figure out a new name. And the actors already learned the name Keyser Soze. We're screwed. All the rehearsals were Keyser Soze. So they couldn't switch it around because they were so used to it. So there was some stumbling with that. But we're like, Soze. So we're like screwed. And Bryan sometimes gets really like, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. So we're sitting there, how are we going to find a name better than Keyser Soze? Because, it's like, it's your favorite shirt. You're like, I can't get rid of my favorite shirt. So we had a Turkish to English dictionary at the guy's house where I think Chris was living at the time. And
because everybody has a Turkish English dictionary.
I've got 3. One in each color.
This is when we had books.
All right.
Now you can just look on your phone.
Go ahead. I'm like thinking about why there's
So verbal means Soze something in Turkish. So we're like, well, we're going to lose the audience in Turkey, but, we like this name, so we got it to be Keyser Soze.
Oh, that's fun.
Close enough.
The story doesn't end there. About 10 years ago, somebody sells their house 2 doors down from my parents. to one guy whose name is Kaiser Soze. Now he's my parents' neighbor.
Oh, wild. Of all the guys. Wow.
Have you been over to say hi?
I've said hi, yeah.
Okay.
I don't see him that often, but yeah.
Well,
Two doors down.
It's Los Angeles. Nobody knows their neighbors, much less these.
Especially if it's Kaiser Soze. And he said to Kaiser one day, he's like, I love your name. I'm going to put it in a film.
Really?
But yeah. I think I gave him a poster.
Signed, I hope.
You watched the film last night. Has the meaning of the film changed over these 30 years? Does it feel, or does it, watching it now, 30 years after, do you see something else in the movie in terms of?
I want to remake it and change everything that annoys me in the film.
Yeah.
Whenever I watch my own work, I directed that movie Blood Moon.
Yeah.
And Way of the Gun, a movie I did with Benicio and Chris and James Caan and Julia Lewis after The Usual Suspects. There's things where I'm just like, you got to go back and fix it. And you watch The Usual Suspects as a filmmaker, and you're like, oh, it's like cringe moments. You're like, oh, we should have cut that a little bit there. Or we should have changed that line there. And that's kind of my experience with it. It's not like what you're talking about exactly. So
yeah, I guess I'm just wondering if the Vantage of Time has given it any more perspective in terms of what this, I don't know, just the story.
Why do people love it so much? Or is it just because it's so fucking entertaining?
You have a lot of reasons. One is that cast and the chemistry behind it.
Yep.
And the performances are so good.
Yep.
And Chris's dialogue is so good. And it's really shot really well.
It is really
and the
stylish.
Score and the editing is just perfect from John Ottman. It really elevates it. Like, people thought I was funny talking to like Stephen Baldwin and stuff on the set. What kind of songs are you going to put in here? I'm like, no, we're not going to put any songs in it. We're just going to do a classical score, traditional movie kind of score. There's one song in there when they're dividing up the emeralds, which was a song that Bryan's roommate at the time recorded because he was a musician. But that's like the only song in the whole film. There's no songs. So I think that's one of the things that also make it timeless. Is it just feels like, this big classical movie, not like this little independent film. And there's so much great, in terms of the way how it's shot, the elevator shots inside the elevator when I'm going up and down with my second unit. I think that's the reason.
That makes the film.
I think that's the reason why that film.
Part of the film.
I think that's that film. But there's action, and there's great dialogue, and it's shot really well, and you have incredible cast and chemistry, and they're all really good looking.
Todd Hockney,
Yeah.
Jewish or not Jewish?
Never thought about it. Okay. Never thought about it. Kevin's Jewish, but I don't know if Todd Hockney is Jewish. It wasn't intended to be Jewish.
Okay, fair enough.
Look, it's referred to as one of the great twist endings,
Yeah.
right? That's really, in a way, what you think about it, where you go, it's the gasp at the end, right? And the fact that, at least what you're saying, is that really came together, wasn't maybe entirely on the page, and it really kind of came together in the formation of it, or it really sort of landed in the edit. That's an interesting thing.
The way how it builds with the facts coming out and then, hey, and then it's kind of this weird scene, like kind of this weird thing at the end of the movie where Chaz is just kind of looking around with what's his name, Rabin?
Dan Hedaya.
Nick Tortelli, Dan Hedaya from Cheers, who was one of the most famous actors at the time, going back to the cast. No, when I said we're making a movie with Gabriel Byrne, they're like, who is she? I'm like, you look at him now and you're in the film business, but it's like, nobody knew who our cast was. They knew Dan Hedaya because he was on Cheers.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the cup and the slow motion and all that. Like, Bryan had that idea with the slow motion and the cup, and Tom Siegel, the DP, they really came together. Talk about some great stuff. The flashback was all shot in 16 millimeter and then step printed. So you get those weird kind of jerks.
Oh, yeah.
It's really cool. I love the glint off of the guns. If you ever notice the film, how there's always like this shine off of the guns, a very subtle thing. And the DP from that, or the gaffer from that, Ray Pesci. I made this movie called Captain Abu Ra'ed, which was it won Sundance my second time. And Ray was the DP I used for that, and the DP that I used for my documentary that I directed. So everybody said, "Oh my God, these guys really understand film language." Gabriel thought he was Kaiser Soze the whole time. And then he's like, "No, these guys really understand film language." I can't do my Irish accent. But, film
There's
language.
no fucking cook.
There's no coke on the boat. So, but yeah, Gabriel was like, "Oh, yeah."
The other puzzle film that comes together at the end, of course, is Citizen Kane, or one of the other ones.
Right.
But was that even consciously a reference?
No, that's not a twist. That it's the sled. That Rosebud.
No, it's not a twist.
It's because
in
they're
a
trying to
sense.
figure out Rosebud the whole time.
But it has the same sort of emotional effect, like a
Yes,
the end,
yes, I think there is that where we as the audience, in this case
suddenly
also
get it.
Chaz is revealed, but we get the satisfaction of.
I mean, it all comes down to kind of the film magic of storytelling and being able to come up. And Chris had the twist idea, like that he was faking this the whole time. But even so, nobody wanted to make this new movie. You can't get that across on the page. And
if it was made today, it would be made with a lot of stars, and they would likely that's the other, I guess, question is how in the world that we live in now is there a place for films like Usual Suspects that don't go straight to streaming? You know what I mean? Is there a world where this could actually happen now?
It's not a question of a world. It's a question of having executives who can identify really good material and can really see the vision on the page and be able to do that. I mean, I was an executive.
And trust creators, by the way.
Yeah, and trust the filmmakers. I mean, I was an executive for 4 years. We had a $500 million deal with Universal, funded 50 movies, got to see everything that Universal was doing. There's some movies that we were involved in that were incredible. Yesterday, Phantom Thread, Black Klansman. There was some really good stuff that we were involved in, and then there was the Jurassic World and some other things. Darkest Hour was another one. But in terms of being able to identify a script and accepting somebody's vision, like Bryan, who only won Sundance with this really dark, weird movie that would cost $250,000, and now you're going to give him $5.5 million to do a Kevin Spacey movie. To answer your question is, I hope so. I hope we get to make more movies like this. This is the interesting thing, and I've been saying.
Well, I think people are making more movies like this. I mean, look at the Daniels get to make, hey, we're going to trust you. We're going to, go ahead and make, everything everywhere all at once.
Yeah.
Because I can assure you that wasn't on the page.
Yeah. The Daniels get to make, they do get to do that. I mean, Wes Anderson gets to make some really cool. But where's the next generation coming? And I always say this cell phone has more capability than when I was in film school.
Yeah.
I just spoke at USC 2 weekends ago. And in the lobby, they had all the ancient cameras. They had what's it called, a zoetrope?
Zoetrope.
A zoetrope. And they had like a old wind-up camera. And then they had the camera I used in film school. They had the Area and the Bolex. And I'm like, are you guys kidding me? And so then I went into the panel, and I'm like, you could cut. You don't need a flatbed to cut. You don't need a lab. You don't even need a distributor. Where's the great filmmaker of when we were in film school? When I was in film school, you had Phil Joannou, and before that, Jim Jarmusch, and you had James Gray, and you had
Spike Lee.
Yeah, exactly. And I did see She's Gotta Have It in this Lemley Theater. But when was the last time you saw a movie that was made? Remember in the 80s when Francis Ford Coppola said there's going to be some fat girl in Ohio that's the next cinematic genius? Where is she?
We watch a lot of movies, and Greg watches an insane amount of movies, and there's an awful lot of really wonderful films. But this captured a kind of the film itself. And kind of that sort of a very kind of a passionate art house coming together it sort of coalesced with this
I think the pendulum swings back and forth, and you could maybe some of the great creators now are not necessarily creating feature-length films. They may be creating some other kind of content. Obviously, there's a lot of short-form stuff. There's a lot of episodic stuff that's really quite good. Anyway, and there are films that are that seem great of the moment and don't hold up over time. So I want to,
All right, does Blue Velvet hold up over time, yes or no?
You know what? I haven't seen it recently, but last night I watched Desperately Seeking Susan because we had a 40th anniversary screening, and that film feels, well, I mean, it's dated because it's a period, it's set, and but it's still a great film.
Yeah.
And it's still funny and still really quite meaningful. So yeah, I think there are great films. I don't know exactly where are the great filmmakers now, but they may be making something we haven't really figured out yet how great it is. I don't know. That's I mean, you have the satisfaction at some level of being involved with this film that was both immediately successful, because it was a financial success, probably would grossing $30-40 million
in today's money?
In 1995 money.
Yeah,
U.S. box office on a 2.5.
That's probably domestic, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's, so
and
you
it's
had,
still
so you
living
had
on.
that, and yet still lives on. And every new format that comes available now, okay, here's the DVD of Usual Suspects, here's the Blu-ray of Usual Suspects, here's the 4K Blu-ray of Usual Suspects. It's, I don't know, I won't say it's eternal, because we can't say that we're still going to be talking about it just like we're talking about, the Iliad.
Right, there you go. Really.
But it's withstood the test of time, and I hope there's some great satisfaction in.
I'm still getting 2 handshakes. I'm still getting two handshakes.
The 2 handshake test.
You still get the 2 handshakes, but it's after we made The Way of the Gun. People would come up to us and say, "Oh, that's a really good movie." I love The Usual Suspects. I mean, so it's like this weird kind of like curse thing, and we're like, we kind of wish you'd like The Way of the Gun.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing, I guess, also, we started talking about public access, which,
Oh, thank you for running it, by the way.
It's midnight shows. I think I still owe you the film rental. Or Stuart Struden Panorama.
I'll take a sushi dinner next door.
Hopefully someday. I don't know. Can people still find public access?
It's hard.
I bet.
Yeah, it's hard, and the quality of the DVD is not that good. But yeah, you could find it. I have.
It's not streaming?
I don't think so.
I mean, the other lesson that I think is really important, we talked about public access, which of course you produced. We talked about in the conversation. We talked about Sydney/Hard 8, which is Paul Thomas Anderson's first film. Not everything works right out of the bat. I think Citizen Ruth, was not a success necessarily, at least at the box office. And yet these filmmakers persisted. They were able to get that next film made, and now they go on and have careers. So it's not always about making that first film work. Sometimes it's about making getting that second film made.
But it's pretty sure what my epitaph's going to say.
Producer of Usual Suspects. Yeah. The guy who got 2 handshakes.
I can actually think of a couple other people who worked on the movie who...
I think everybody who worked on the film arguably that's going to be, at some level. I mean, it's hard to...
Yeah, look, it's a great film. It really holds up. It's
so much.
Really fun to watch again. I watched it again. It was really fun.
Who would have known I had so much talent at 11?
Well, Ken, thank you very much for joining us here.
Thank
we
you
really
for having
appreciate
me.
having the time to chat about the film.
I hope this one gets the most views.
Absolutely, I hope so too.
We'll see what we can do.
How do we promote
It's not a competition, Ken. Thank you for joining us on Inside the Art House. We hope you enjoyed the episode. Please, if you did, like and subscribe and share so that more people can hear our conversation with Ken Kokin, producer of The Usual Suspects.
Yeah, like and subscribe. Thank you, guys. It's been great.
Thanks, Ken.
This is fun.
Really fun. Really fun. And the props are fantastic.
You like the props?
Yes.
Our show was produced by Raphael Sparge with on-site producer Noreen Dickerson. Supervising producers are Thomas Cassetta and Miles McQuarrie. Our show was edited by Gabriel Emley and sound mixed by Thomas Cassetta. Our musical theme was composed by Isabel Engman and Gerardo Garcia Jr. Marketing by Gabriel Emley. Show graphics by Jenna DeAngelis. Additional marketing and web design by Stephanie Peters. Filmed at the historic Lumley Royal Theater in Los Angeles, California. See you next time on Inside the Art House. If you like today's show, please consider subscribing to our channel to learn more on Inside the Art House.